Hey, I'm Sean McAdams, Vice President of Data and Analytics at Moser Consulting. I'm going to run through three things with you today. One, if you're in data and analytics, why do you exist? Two, how can you deliver better data and analytic products? And finally, what can you do to enact some of the ideas I'm going to go through? First, why do you exist? Why do I exist? Well, at Moser, we believe that we exist in order to help define and deliver a data and analytic strategy, and that strategy is data functioning through technology, which is the predominant reason why organizations reach out to an IT firm like Moser Consulting, but it's also people operating through a process. The thing that I think is most overlooked in a data and analytics strategy. That's a simplification of why we exist, but I think it's important. I also think that it's a foundation on which anyone who delivers data and analytic products can rest, and they can use it in order to help get better at delivering data and analytic products as they deep dive into people and process, data and tech. Now, we do this in a podcast. We also have an ebook coming out. We do it in consultancy services. In this video, I want to look specifically at process. And when I talk about process, I'm not talking about methodology. I'm not talking about a paradigm that you use to manage the delivery of work. Rather, I'm talking about the organizational mindset for how you deliver data and analytic products, and the people mindset that they should adopt when developing these particular solutions. Now, we would break the delivery of data and analytic products into three services. And it's not data as a service and platform as a service and analytics as a service specifically, but we just call it platforms and engineering and insights. These would be the delivery channels to help deliver data and analytic products. So if you were an analytics as a service organization, meaning you were owning all of these things, you have three services that are helping deliver that analytic as a service model. Or if you're an organization that wants to get to self-service BI, you want to centralize data as a service, well, you still have two services that have to operate together in order to deliver that within platforms and engineering. So for us, platforms would be the tools that are being used by those that are delivering data and analytic products. Engineering is obviously data engineering. It's the acquisition of data into a data architecture that's specifically designed for analytic workloads, and it's the governance of those particular practices. We have four steps that we advocate for data architectures for analytic workloads at Moser. But that's where that work would happen in that service. And then insights, anything that is consuming data in order to produce information. And we're not specific about the maturity level of that insight, if it's business intelligence or artificial intelligence or somewhere in between. If you're creating a file, a visualization, or you're doing advanced analytics, it's all insights work. You're consuming data for the purpose of creating information that is valuable to the organization. So I think understanding that would definitely help deliver better products, but it's also looking at the mindset that we use to deliver these. And again, it's not the approach to how you manage your work, it's a philosophy on how you need to think, sort of like design thinking. There's some application to how you can use human-centered design that's often found within application development in the delivery of data and analytic products, and I'll talk about that a little bit. But we break down our mentality into two phases: discovery and delivery. You know, all of these things are built really upon technical and non-technical influences that we have had, you know, delivering services to over 80 clients now, over 100 engagements on architectures that are on-prem, Microsoft, Oracle, SAP, Hadoop, to using cloud and hybrid architectures in Azure and AWS and GCP. A lot of those philosophies has led us to the paradigm in which we've simplified what I call bringing it to the lowest common denominator, the things that you need to be successful in the delivery of data and analytic products. Another non-technical influence is Simon Sinek's book, and starts with why. And so you see that here within discovery, because we've broken that out into 3 steps: discover, dream, design. So discover why, understanding the motivation around this particular needs of the user, understanding the user. If you want to start creating some personas here to help guide particularly the visualizations or user interactions they would have with a particular BI platform, by all means do it. But also recognize that not all data and analytic products have a human interface, have a end user as a human. Sometimes we're interacting with applications, and sometimes we want to design things in such a way that as we learn how humans interact with it, we can also automate it. So the end goal goes beyond our user interaction into how do we automate those things with machine learning toward artificial intelligence, really the automation of insights, and as we mature those. Dream is how. How do we solution the need that we've uncovered and discovered? Design is what? Now that we've created an idea, a solution, what do we need to do in order to implement that? Once we've done those 3 steps, if you're speaking agile and you want to apply these things to agile methodology, you would have a groomed backlog, right? That you can now move into the delivery of that, where you're going to have to develop something, you're going to have to deploy it. And then we are very explicit about having drive in this process, because you have to maintain the thing that you've created. You have to do knowledge management, and you're going to have some operation and maintenance activities to keep that vehicle going, to drive insights, to drive business value. Now, the reason why I say these are not a methodology is because if you take develop, for example, there are probably a number of things that your organization will want to do within that particular stage, like testing or multiple levels of testing, depending on the complexity of your organization. But we've explicitly separated deployment and development so that organization, you can adopt continuous integration, continuous delivery if you want to. You have to take this approach, apply it to a delivery model, but also to your service delivery channels. And every channel needs to follow the same approach. So if I am a BI developer, I think that's the simplest example to explain, and I am interfacing with someone in leadership, and they have a specific need, a specific question that they have, too often what we see is that as a BI developer, I start thinking about the data needed to satisfy that particular answer, because I want to get that answer to them as fast as I possibly can, and I forego a lot of things that we believe you need to do, particularly this dream step, in which you will stop and say, how should I communicate that answer to this user? How do I communicate it? You're going to maybe wireframe something if you're doing a report, a BI visualization. You can get that to the user and you say, hey, if I can answer your question in this specific way and you can interact with it like this, will that satisfy your needs? You go through those 2 steps and you have acceptance criteria, you have a definition of done, and then design becomes, what do you need to do in order to implement that solution? And as a BI developer, that may be, I have to do these specific things within this platform or this tool that I'm using, but it's also going to be, what data do I need in order to satisfy that particular request? And when I say what data do you need, not so much where does it come from and how to get it into the system and how do you make sure you ensure data governance and all of those things. It's just, what elements do you need in a data object in order to satisfy it? So think simplistically about, I need, customer, and I need some date that we're going to use to look at this data and interaction, and I need these 6 metrics because of the things that were important for this particular user, and you just define that need. Now you have a dependency to engineering. And it doesn't matter to me if you're one person doing all of this work or you have teams where this work is being passed, but this gives you the ability to understand those dependencies and to have everyone on the same page organizationally with the delivery of data and analytic products. And I don't see people doing those when they talk about doing envisioning sessions and going through machine or design thinking for analytics. I think that those are great mechanisms in order to create energy, in order to educate people, in order to get a micro level use case created and figured out, but it does not tell you operationally how to deliver data and analytic products the way that we're going through with insights, engineering platforms, and then following these 8 Ds. So going back to the use case, if you have this need, you need data in order to produce that report, that's going to go into engineering. Engineering is going to say, well, why do you need this? Well, we're going to create this report for our leadership. Engineering, worth their salt, is probably going to know that you're going to persist that data somewhere, and you're likely going to use some type of SQL interface into that persistence later. I don't really care if you're in an enterprise data warehouse model, if you're in a data lake model, if you're currently on the bleeding edge of data architecture and you're running a lake house model. If you're watching this video, it's March 2021, and so doesn't matter to me. You're going to persist data somewhere, and a lot of the BR platforms are going to use some type of SQL interface in order to interact with that data. An engineer is going to then say, well, how do I bring the data you need into our environment that's been built specifically for analytic workloads? Again, this is data architecture for analytic workloads. We have 4 stages that we advocate within our engineering practices, but whatever your practices are, how are we going to ensure we do that, and then design what do I have to do to this data in order to hit that data endpoint, in order to deliver you the set of elements you need to satisfy this particular report. Those things come together after engineering has developed and deployed it, right? The insight person can test it out. Yeah, this meets my need. I can go make my Power BI or Tableau report, whatever it is that you're creating. And both of you have the responsibility now to educate and to manage these things that you've created in Drive. Now, if there isn't a capability within your toolkit organizationally to deliver the thing that you need to deliver, whether you're a data engineer or a BI developer, we would say that goes to platform. And platform will say, well, why do you need this functionality? They'll understand those particular needs of you as a user of the platform. They'll then say, how do we implement this functionality into our platform? There's a plethora of tools and solutions available, but what is right for our organization, what is right for our platform? And then design, what do we have to do to integrate that chosen functionality into our platform? We do that integration work, we deploy it, we make it accessible, and now we have to take care of it. I think this is a simplification of a model that applies to anyone that's in the delivery of data and analytics. I think it supports whether you want to do a platform as a service, or if you want to do data as a service or analytics as a service. These are the concepts that can help you deliver better data and analytic products. Now, if everything I went through makes a whole lot of sense to you, and you can go forth and implement these into your organization, great. We're glad to have been able to help you. We're glad that you're learning from lessons that we've learned in decades and decades supporting data architecture and data management. But if you need help to implement these ideas, then just reach out. We're not explicit that you have to use this terminology in these words, but we are going to use this as the foundation to help you deliver better data and analytic products. I hope this has been valuable to you, and I look forward to hopefully communicating with you in the future.